All right, welcome back. This is going to be part 40 of my presentation on the flood and Noah's Ark. And in this one here, guys, we're going to try to finish up with carbon-14 dating, the subject of that. And I'm going to show you some examples of how it just don't work. It just don't work. And so, but we're going to do the best we can in it. And so I think by the end of this, I think I proved my point, and it's really amazing. It's really amazing just how across the board where they have found carbon-14. And so, but if you'll notice on the screen here, this is a slide from our last video. Our last video. Now, just go to the highlighted area, and you'll see an area that I already covered. But this is going to kind of catapult us into all these other ones. But it says coal is assumed to have formed over 100,000 to millions of years. If this is true, then there should not be any C14 found. However, every sample that has been taken today, they are finding detectable carbon-14. The coal cannot be any older than 60,000 years. It's got to be, it's younger. It's younger. And so there you go there. They're finding carbon-14 in every sample that they look at. Now, to put it into a time scale for you, the Carboniferous period, this is what they referred to as, this is when the coal was being formed, was the Carboniferous period. Now, as far as the date, just to give you an idea of this, it's 290 to 360 million years old. So there, now, if carbon-14 can only be detectable no more than, let's just say, upwards of 100,000 years. I'll give them that because I've actually seen that before. But in a lot of the literature, you're going to see 60 or 70. But I have actually heard 100,000. So I'm going to give them that. Let's give them another 30 to 40,000 years. It still doesn't hold a candle to this. So it's 290 to 360 million years ago. That carbon-14 should be long gone. And so, but yet, just about every, well, from what I understand, every sample that they're able to test, they're finding carbon-14 in every sample. It's crazy. Now, it was first named in 1822 because of its large carbon-bearing coal-bearing strata. That's what the Carboniferous period is. Again, 290 to 360 million years ago. So you can see the significance of this find of carbon-14. The dates don't match. And again, the geologic timescale that you're seeing here, this is the only place you'll find it on Earth. It's right here and in textbooks. Now, what I'm going to do here is what I'm quoting is the yellow areas, all of the highlighted areas. That's what I'm quoting. The references are in white. So this is to help me. So I'm not sitting here trying to eyeball where to start at. And so if you want to go back on the references, just pause the video, write down the references, and you can check them out for yourself. Now, you got to understand something about the carbon-14. If you date a sample of known age, where you know the age, carbon dating will not work. If you date a sample of unknown age, then it is assumed carbon dating will work. And so it's really just crazy, guys. You know, it's as if, you know, because you'll know the sample's age, and then you'll see just where the errors are when you go to carbon date it. But if you don't know the age of the sample, then you're just assuming well, I guess that's what it is, and then that's the end of it. And so, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and believe me, you're going to see that. Now, the next one. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to quote you the quotes. That's it. I'm not going to give you where it came from. And so the lower leg of the Fairbanks Creek mammoth had a radiation age of 15,380 radiocarbon years, while its skin and flesh were 21,300 radiocarbon years. Now, you explain that. The next one, living mollusk shells. Living mollusk shells were carbon dated as being 2,300 years old. The next one, if a carbon 14 date supports our theories, we put it in the main text. If it does not entirely contradict them, we put it in a footnote. And if it is completely out of date, we just drop it. That's what they said. You can look at the reference on who said that. And so the next one, a freshly killed seal was carbon dated as having died 1,300 years ago. And it's a freshly killed, they just killed it. And it said it had died 1,300 years ago. The next one, material from layers where dinosaurs were found carbon dated at 34,000 years old. How about that? Shells from living snails were carbon dated as being 27,000 years old. Going on. The next one here. One part of Dima, I'm going to say it's Dima or Dima, a baby frozen mammoth, was 40,000. Another part of her was 26,000. And the wood immediately around the carcass was 9 to 10,000 years. Also, one part of the Velocevich mammoth carbon dated at 29,500 years, and another part of the same mammoth was 44,000 years old. Going on to the next one. In the last 2 years, an absolute date has been obtained for the the Gandong beds above the Trinil beds, and it has the very interesting value of 300,000 years, plus or minus 300,000 years. The next one, no matter how useful it is, though the radiocarbon method is still not capable of yielding accurate and reliable results, there are gross discrepancies, and the chronology is uneven and relative. And the accepted dates are actually selected dates. The whole blessed thing is nothing but 13th century alchemy. And it all depends upon which funny paper you read. And so now I will say where this came from. This one came from Robert E. Lee, Radiocarbon Ages and Error, Anthropological Journal of Canada, volume 19, number 3, 1981, pages 9 through 29. That's where that quote came from. A next one, 11 human skeletons, the earliest known human remains in the Western Hemisphere, have been dated by the accelerator mass spectrometer. All 11 were dated about 5,000 radiocarbon years or less. And so, that is very interesting. Going on, the 2 Colorado Creek, Alaska mammoths had a radiocarbon ages of 22,850 plus or minus 670 years, and 16,150 plus or minus 230 years, respectively. These were found together. The next one there, a geologist at the Berkeley Geochronology Center, Carl Swisher, uses the most advanced techniques to date human fossils. Last spring, he was reevaluating Homo erectus skulls found in Java in the 1930s by testing the sediment found with them. A hominid species assumed to be an ancestor of Homo sapiens erectus was thought to have vanished some 250,000 years ago. But even though he used 2 different dating methods, Swisher kept making the same startling find. The bones were 53,000 years old at most, and possibly no more than 27,000 years, a stretch of time contemporaneous with modern humans. So there you go there. Okay, going on to the next one. Russian scientist, I'm going to try his name. It's Kuznetsov, Sov and Ivanov carbon dated dinosaur bones at under 30,000 years. Hugh Miller, Columbus, Ohio, had 4 dinosaur samples carbon dated at 20,000 years old. The samples were not identified as dinosaur in advance. They didn't tell them what they were dating. They just said, hey, we need these carbon dated, and that's the dates that they got. Very interesting, huh? And dinosaur bones aren't supposed to be able to be carbon dated. Okay, going on. 8-year project that was sponsored by a number of creation organizations. That's the RATE group, the RATE research group, including Creation Research Society. They took coal samples from around the world, and every sample had carbon-14 in it, no matter where they were in the geologic record. That's what they found. The accelerator mass spectrometer, aka AMS, from Lawrence Livermore Laboratories, that develop a sensitive form of radiocarbon dating, they can count virtually every atom of carbon-14 that is in the sample. When this machine was first used, it was discovered that everything had carbon-14 in it, including diamonds. Get that, guys. Diamonds are supposed to be millions to billions of years old. And coal is dated to be in the millions of years, and we just showed that in the Carboniferous period. There should not be any carbon-14 in them. Okay, geophysicist Dr. John Baumgartner of the RATE Research Group, that's that radioisotopes and the age of the Earth, that's what that means. That's that RATE Research Group I just mentioned just a minute ago, investigated carbon-14 in a number of diamonds. The radiocarbon lab reported that there was over 10 times the detection limit. Thus, they had radiocarbon ages of far less than 1 million years. Dr. Baumgartner repeated this with 6 more alluvial diamonds from Namibia, and these had even more radiocarbon. Now, between 1984 and 1998 alone, the scientific literature reported carbon-14 in 70 samples that came from fossils, coal, oil, natural gas, and marble, representing the fossil-bearing portion of the geologic record. Supposedly spanning more than 500 million years, all contained radiocarbon. Further analysis of fossil wood and coral samples, supposedly spanning 32 to 350 million years in age, yielded ages between 20,000 and 50,000 years using carbon-14 dating. Diamonds, supposedly 1 to 3 billion years old, yielded carbon-14 ages of only 55,000 years. I tell you what, as much as I hate to, guys, I'm going to stop right here. I'm looking at about 13 minutes nearly, and I'm just, if I get into this next thing, I have a feeling it's probably going to go even could be twice as long. And so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to stop right here, but we're going to have one more video. But as you can see here, you know, this carbon-14 does not work at all. And the assumptions that the coal and even diamonds that are supposed to be millions and even billions, that's with the B, guys, billions of years. We're talking nearly the age of the Earth here. That's what we're talking about. We're talking nearly the age of the Earth. And they're finding carbon-14 in them, which by their theories says that they're not supposed to be 60,000 or even let's give them 100,000 years old. And they're finding carbon-14 in them, which shows you that one thing is that the Earth is not 4.5 billion years old. It's not. And this is just one of the dating methods that they use. And so, and this is, you know, carbon-14. I mean, it's such a common thing. But yet they're finding carbon-14 in all the coal samples, and nearly everything that they test, they're finding carbon-14 in them. And so the diamonds alone we're not done with the diamonds yet. I've got some really neat information to share with you about diamonds. And so some of them, it's going to make your jaw drop. And so, but it's really amazing. And diamonds are supposed to take billions of years to form. And so, like I said, we look on the slides, 1 to 3 billion years old is the age of them. And yet, they're finding carbon-14 in them. And so, how is that? Well, it just shows you that the world isn't that old. The biblical timeline is only about 6,000 years old. And that fits perfectly with that timeline. It just, yeah, I don't know. But it's just, that's what they just ignore it. They just ignore it, or they don't have an answer for it. And so, and they just keep teaching evolution, and most of the population out here believes it. They believe it, and it's really hard for people to believe that dinosaurs and man coexisted together because their minds have been so conditioned to accept the evolution theory. And so, but at any rate, we're going to come back next time. We're going to finish it up, I promise. So, but you guys take care. I love you, and I hope the Lord blesses you real good. Bye-bye.